back to my channel. I'm so excited to be back making videos. It's 2024, so we're gonna get right into it. In today's video, I'm gonna be ranking every single opening kill in the Scream franchise. So right at number 6, I ranked Scream 4.
Hello?
Scream 4 is cute. It's for the time. It's very 2000s. It's fun to see Lucy Hale and Shanae Grimes in the opening scene in Scream 4 because they were very popular at this time. Like, I loved Pretty Little Liars back in the day. But I feel like this Scream opening is like the least exciting for me. It's the least inventive, and it's the one where I don't have any kind of anticipation really for what's gonna happen. The suspense isn't really there. It's just not a very exciting kill for me, and then we don't really get to spend much time with one person or one character to really be invested in what's about to happen. I do appreciate that they try to be very meta and give us, a movie within a movie and the whole thing, but it's just my least favorite kill, so that's why it's number 6 on the list. So at number 5, I put Scream 2022. Now, I know this is going to be a very controversial take probably because a lot of people love this movie. I love this movie. I'm not super picky when it comes to revitalizing horror franchises. Obviously, Scream is my favorite horror franchise, so I was very happy when Scream 2022 came out. However, I think that Jenna Ortega did an amazing job. She's a wonderful actress, but again, this is another case where I feel like this opening, because we had waited so long between Scream 4 and Scream 2022, I think I just expected more from the opening. I think, like I said, Jenna did an amazing job and she put a lot into the character, but I guess I'm just being a little nitpicky on some of the things that I like to see. This wasn't very inventive of an opening scene. It kind of just gave us a rehashing of Scream 1. Which people like nostalgia. I like a little nostalgia, but if we're gonna, breathe new life into the franchise, it would have been cool to see something totally different because, Scream is about subverting expectations and doing something new, and they just didn't really do much new with this one. They used, like, the cell phone a lot and the doors and locking the doors and stuff with the cell phone, but unpopular opinion, maybe, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of relying too much on technology, especially in horror movies, because I feel like it doesn't age well, and in like 10 years it's not really gonna be super exciting to see. I mean, in the first Scream, obviously she's on like this big brick house phone, but it's like, okay, that's very of the time. But even today, like, everyone still talks on the phone. It could be any kind of phone. It could be a flip phone. It could be whatever. Talking on the phone versus like texting and using apps and stuff like that, it's just, it's not the same to me. Like, of course, I'll watch a movie someone on the phone, but I don't want to see someone like using a bunch of apps and then him filming her best friend and sending her the video. I didn't really care for that. And like I said, I just thought it could have been more creative. And another thing, I don't really like how, I know they tried to recreate like Drew Barrymore was at home cooking her popcorn, and so now Jenna Ortega is at home stirring something in the pot. There wasn't even any smoke or steam coming from the pot. So I felt like this movie, or that opening, didn't do a very good job at like creating a really visceral experience like the first movie did. It didn't take me there. Like, in the first movie, Drew is burning that popcorn. You understand what the smell of burnt popcorn is, and it really takes you there in the scene. Jenna was cooking. She was cooking something on the stove, and we totally forgot about that by the time Ghostface comes out and attacks her. So, for that reason, Scream 2022 was number 5 on my list. So up next at number 4 was Scream 3. I like Scream 3. I know Scream 3 gets kind of a lot of hate, but just in terms of opening, I think it was a strong opening scene. This one is kind of my same qualm that I have with Scream 2022. I don't really like the whole voice changer aspect that movie was playing on. I think it's a little too, like, with the technology, but I really liked that we got to see Cotton Weary. I love Cotton. He's like one of my favorite characters in the franchise that kind of gets forgotten about. I really loved his character, and justice for Cotton, because to me, they should have let him live. Cotton had been through way too much to die, honestly. Like, this man was literally like in jail? Was he not on death row, like, for a crime he didn't commit? Just for him to, like, be a hero in Scream 2 and then he gets murdered in Scream 3? Oh, the horror. I hated it. But it was really cool to see his girlfriend, Christine. She was a fighter. Cotton was a fighter. But Christine just didn't know who she was fighting. She was fighting the wrong man. But that was cool to see. Like, that kind of confusion was fun to watch. And this is another scene where they actually gave us some tension in the opening kill or the cold open. I'm sorry, I keep calling it an opening kill, but you know what I'm saying. They actually gave us some tension, some suspense, and you want to be right there with Cotton rushing home to make sure that his girlfriend is okay. Now, the only thing that I didn't really care for about this cold open was I feel like they didn't show us enough of Cotton fighting back, because for him to be such an important character in Screams 1 and 2, for him to, like, he was fighting a little bit and then got knocked off his feet so quickly and then was stabbed and killed very quickly. I know they only have a limited amount of time in these cold opens, but it would have been nicer to see him and Ghostface tussle a little bit more, just because his death is, like, to me, a pretty big deal to the franchise. So I would have liked to see him fight back a little bit. But other than that, it was a very good cold open. And so Scream 3 is coincidentally number 3 on my list. Okay, so actually at number 3 is Scream 2023.
Are you okay?
Now, I know for some people, Scream 2023 probably would not be this high up on their list as far as cold opens goes, but I really enjoyed it because I feel like it did something different that we really hadn't seen in the other iterations of the movie in this franchise. I mean, when you think about it, a lot of the other movies, like, except for a lot of the other movies, just kind of give us like a beat for beat recreation of what we've already seen. But I do really appreciate that in this movie, they kind of tried to give us something different. Now, I would have really loved if when our killer is unmasked in the beginning, that we actually follow him and see the perspective of him, like, being a killer through his eyes, and he's trying to implant himself into this friend group and get close to them. And then maybe at the same time there's another killer or something, if we really want to keep that, like, murder mystery aspect. But it would have been really cool to actually know as an audience who one of the killers is, because that's something that we haven't seen done yet in this franchise. So I do really appreciate that they tried to do something different, and it was very unexpected when he unmasked himself right there in the opening. So that was really exciting. However, I really didn't understand how Samara Weaving's character is supposed to be a horror professor, but somehow is talked into coming into an alley by her Tinder date. I don't know. I feel like in the later movies, something that I've noticed that the writing team or the directors or whoever doesn't really pay attention to is actually having actions and creating things for these characters to do that they would actually do. I don't feel like a horror professor would actually do that. I don't feel like someone who's on a first date would even go looking for their date in the alley. She'd just be like, "Sir, I'll call you tomorrow if you make it that far." I don't know. Like, yeah. But for that reason, Scream 2023 was actually the number 3 on my list. They tried something new, didn't land all the way, but they did a great job. So, okay, so for number 2, coincidentally, actually, Scream 2 is my number 2. Honestly, Jada Pinkett Smith, she did amazing. Omar Epps, amazing. Honestly, everybody knows, I don't know if you guys know, but Scream 2 is probably my favorite Scream movie. It's just so good. It's so 90s. It's just amazing. And when Jada dies, it is absolutely freaking heartbreaking. And this one ranks so high for me because, like I said, kind of relating to Scream 2023, when Jada and Omar's characters die, it's not from anything that they did wrong. They didn't do anything wrong to die, really. Omar went to the bathroom. He was being nosy, okay? He didn't need to put his ear to the stall, but, like, should you die for that? No. Like, he didn't know. Neither one of them knew they were in any danger. and they were murdered. And that's why it makes it so heartbreaking. And then when Jada is literally fighting for her life and nobody knows what's going on around them, no one is even realizing that they're witnessing a murder because they're so caught up in the chaos and everything that's going on. Oh my gosh, amazing. Like, amazing. So original, so good. I know there's a lot of like niche horror movie references in that opening, but oh my goodness, just freaking good. And it's like they literally didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong because it's like Samara Weaving's character, not saying that like no one deserves to be murdered for making a dumb decision, but like, girl, why are you going into the alley? You know what I'm saying? Like, but for them, it's like there's nothing I can say like, why did you like? They didn't do anything wrong. They made decisions that like normal people would make. And it just so happens that they were being preyed upon. So, loved it. Scream 2 was my number 2. And last but not least, it's probably no surprise, my number 1 was Scream number 1. The first Scream with Drew Barrymore. Her acting, this entire scene, honestly, the first Scream will probably always be the best cold open, probably of like, I don't want to get too crazy and say of any franchise, but it is so strong. Everything in this scene just seems like it was taken with, like, created with so much care and so much attention to detail. Everything just puts you into the scene. It's such a visceral experience when you're watching this young girl be preyed on, stalked, and then murdered. It is so strong. Like I said, my issue with Scream 2022, like, a lot of them are in the details. Like when Jenna Ortega's literally, we see her cooking on the stove, and then I think everybody forgot she was making a meal. Like in the first Scream, she's making the popcorn is burning. I feel like it touches on like all 5 of your senses. The sound, oh my goodness, every sound, every crunch, every cricket making noise, it just takes you there. The lighting, it's dark and brooding outside, and then when she starts burning the popcorn, you can imagine what that smells like. There's your sense of smell, and then it's hazy and smoky and there's so much happening. She should have thrown the phone. That's my only thing with that one. But I mean, for the plot, like, she didn't do it for the plot, I understand. But when every time her parents walk up, I'm like, throw the phone, Drew, throw the phone. You were right there, just throw the phone. But, for the plot, like I said, it just makes it that much more heartbreaking. And honestly, best cold open of the franchise so far. Hopefully in Scream 7, if there is a Scream 7, which I'm sure there is. In Scream 7, hopefully we get a very creative, very different, very new, very innovative cold open. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I had a lot of fun making it, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one.